Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is January the 10th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Today has been well. I feel like I've been productive, even though I didn't go to work. We called off. We woke up, called off, went back to sleep. So I got at least a nice little sum total of sleep there, about 6 hours. Feels good, at least for me. Um, I will say though, I've had this problem like since I woke up. The bad back issues are back, I guess. And technically they really didn't leave. It's just been more tolerable. I feel like I've had like a few days where I haven't had to like really reach for the Advil till today, because today it was rough, and I said, okay, I know it's my day off. I'm kind of just chilling, really. There's no itinerary really, but I'm going to go to the gym, of course. And I was kind of dreading it in that regard because I'm like, this is probably not going to feel good. And it didn't feel good. Any of my weight, training stuff, just, I tried to take it a little bit easier as opposed to yesterday. Like yesterday, I was pushing, like I was hitting it harder and it felt good. But then I also immediately kind of felt the blowback, and it just kind of, I guess, got worse and worse until, here we are today. We reduced it. We went back to a little bit more reasonable weights. No pushing, no ego stuff, I guess, whatever. But overall, the gym, it was good to me. And you know what's funny? I've said this before, but like whenever I'm doing the weight training stuff, that's when my back feels like the worst. And then when I get onto the stairmaster, when I get on the treadmill, any of the cardio stuff, it feels so much better by comparison. I don't know why that is. I wonder. I ponder. Maybe I should do some research on that. Maybe my dear listeners, y'all know. I don't know. Maybe your mastery of the physical sciences are there. Overall, gym was good to me. It was nice. There's supposed to be snow. I mean, that's the big reason I called off. But It looks like it's just starting. I know, some people are telling me like, "Oh yeah, it's snowing around me" or whatever. So, we'll see. At least as of recording this, I don't think though the snow is going to be too bad where I'm at. It's just I really wanted to make sure that I didn't get snowed out of the gym. Pretty much, that was my focus and my vibe. But yeah, so I mean, here we are. We're doing a little cozy little episode. Let's go ahead and do our startup, and we will get into some news. Oh, also, I guess while we're here, I can blog a little longer. Why not? I have been pawing at the notion of getting a PlayStation 5. And it's like, I don't have the money for that. But I don't know, maybe longtime listeners know, you can track my habits even a little bit here. I tend to get a little too fiscally excited, where, we're coming off of, the end of the year, you had your little Christmas cash, you got your little bonus money, whatever, what have you. And you're thinking you're doing pretty good, right? But there's always some stuff around the corner ready to get you, right? And I think for me, I've already preloaded that with getting a new car. I still got to get my plates and stuff. On those temporary tags, what have you. But I know it's all gonna drop. I know I gotta like readjust my budget. I'm dreading it mentally. But like, I also have this money, and it's like I just got a little bit of money, and like, can I get another little treat for me? And it's like, Isaiah, you can't. I at least gotta. My logic is to at least wait till taxes, and then maybe see how I do there, and maybe I can. But I also know there's other things I need to get as well. I need to just probably shore up. And really, truthfully, if I'm being honest with y'all, the only reason I want this PS5 is so I can play Marvel Rivals. Like, once again, I just want to scratch this itch. I want to do it so bad. But I don't know what they keep saying. Patience is a virtue. So I'm trying to really just focus on the things I do have, and be very thankful. And then maybe we'll see. Maybe in like, a month or so, maybe I might wind up with the P5. Who knows? Who knows? Who can say? Stranger things have happened. But yeah, let's go ahead and do the startup. But y'all, yeah, I even went to the fucking GameStop. I said, hey, how much is like a used one? 400 isn't bad, I will say, but like, you know, it's $400. Okay. All right, some stories down the pipe from NPR. Pizzagate. Pizzagate gunman killed by police in North Carolina, authorities say. A man who fired a gun inside a restaurant in the nation's capital after a fake online conspiracy theory called Pizzagate motivated him to do so nearly a decade ago, was shot and killed by North Carolina police during a weekend traffic stop. Edgar Madison Welch was a passenger in a vehicle stopped by officers in Kannapolis on Saturday night, according to a Kannapolis Police Department news release. One of the officers recognized the car as the vehicle of someone he had arrested and who had an outstanding warrant for a felony probation violation, Welch, police said. When officers approached the vehicle to arrest Welch, police said the man pulled out a handgun and pointed it at one of the officers. After he was instructed to drop the weapon but didn't, 2 officers shot Welch, authorities said. I want to take a quick pause here, and this is just for me, and I gotta say it, and maybe this is just me being a fucking asshole about it, and it doesn't even equate, but it's crazy to me that this is a guy that is like a known problem, has a felony, and in this situation, you see the police go, hey, we're gonna try to talk you down real quick, just put down the gun, you're aiming it at us right now. Just put it down, bro. Just drop it. And he does it, and then they put him down. Okay, but like, I feel like if we just put the color shader on this guy, it's the second you see something shiny, you blow his ass away. I don't know. I'd love to think times have changed, but we just know that feels like a reality. So I don't know, man. It immediately bothered me not to say that I'm like, no, I wanted him to immediately get dusted. No, I want to live in a world where I don't have that thought in the back of my fucking head, I guess. I don't know. And sure, maybe people are saying that's a you problem, Isaiah. And it's like, I mean, looks at skin. Yeah, it is. But anyway, let me continue. I'm sidetracked. Emergency responders took Welch to the hospital, and he died from his injuries 2 days later. According to the release, none of the officers nor the driver and another passenger were injured. Now, I'm glad they just include this in the NPR article. I'm sure, a lot of other articles do this as well. But, just kind of taking the timeline to explain what Pizzagate was real quick is very useful. So in 2016, authorities said Welch drove from North Carolina with an assault rifle to Comic Ping Pong restaurant in Washington after believing an unfounded conspiracy theory that prominent Democrats were operating a child sex trafficking ring out of the pizzeria. The fake theory, dubbed Pizzagate, began circulating online during the 2016 presidential election. He entered the restaurant armed, and as customers fled the scene, Welch shot at a locked closet inside. After realizing there were no children held captive in the pizzeria, Welch peacefully surrendered. No one was injured. So yeah, I mean, this is just one of those things where you start seeing stories like this, and for me, I go, oh, conspiracy theories suck now. And like, I mean, maybe you could always argue that they were always useless nonsense junk to kind of like, chase your tail as just like a human in the dark, right? But at the end of the day, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I used to really look at like conspiracy theories in like such a wistful way. Like, oh, it's just fun to talk about this with your friends or random people or peers and just hear things. Maybe you learn of a different angle of a thing and it really makes you think, right? But like things like this, just you realize like, oh, the landscape has changed, or the speed of how it can change is so different now than it maybe was before when we were younger, when our parents were, doing conspiracy stuff and talking about it amongst themselves. Like, it can just happen and spread so fast. It can be like so viral, and then people can be so like motivated to then take crazy actions that they should not be taking, to the point where the guy was like, yeah, I believe that I'm gonna go in there and like find this sex ring and find free these kids and all this crazy shit. And it's like, dude, no, dude, you've actually scared so many people, traumatized so many people, ruined this whole fucking establishment. For what? And then not to mention, then people are not, and it's crazy because then people see this event happen. And, maybe you can say the majority go, okay, yeah, that's crazy. Wow, we should do something about this. We should have less of this. There are other people who are just even more motivated to prove that, no, Welch was right. He was doing the right thing. He just didn't find the right spot. Like, they double down. They triple down. They never come off it. You know what I mean? And then you see the, like, InfoWars style, Alex Jones type motherfuckers just thriving in this environment, right? Like, just soaking the shit nonstop. To the point where you can really say weaponizing this kind of stuff and then being like, I'm not connected to that. It has nothing to do with me. I wasn't actually telling X guy, Y person to do whatever. So it's just like a crazy fucking web that can just kind of spiral out, all from some shit that people are talking about in some danky ass forum somewhere, or some random ass app or site. So yeah, once again, conspiracy theories to me really just took a turn, I feel like, around this time. Maybe it's when I started realizing that as a person, somewhat subtly, whatever. But yeah, I became less enthused to kind of really talk about them as much, because I was like, yeah, no, we're not doing magic bullets anymore, huh? But yeah, let's move along. I've got some updates for, I guess, pretty much the rest of this episode, actually. From ABC News, Trump sentencing. Judge gives Trump unconditional discharge to respect presidency. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty much what we had assumed was going to happen for Trump is happening. He tried to, ask the Supreme Court to intercede. They did not. That's a relevant thing because it's like, hey, they're saying, no, we want things to progress as they should. We love you, this supercharged majority that we love you, but whatever. Cause I think they had a little bit of a talk with like Alito and Trump. It had been reported they had a conversation. Now Alito's like, hey, it was between like Trump and I, we were just talking about one of my clerks. He wanted to put in a good word. Trump actually called me about it. Which is like, so wait, Trump called you about it? And you're saying, oh, but of course you didn't talk about any of this or anything going on here. No, we didn't. That wasn't nothing. I'm like, I don't trust that personally, but it is what it is. The Supreme Court kind of just said, okay, no, we're going to let it proceed. And yeah, it looks like he is going to get the unconditional discharge. Now, essentially that is going to means that the whole trial, everything sticks. He can appeal it through the normal channels. But Trump really wanted to fight this. At first he's like, no, I have like this immunity as president. You can't do this. That didn't work, but he still kind of tried to say, hey, it's just bad. Like, this is just icky and weird. I'm about to be president. It's such a bad look, right? Like, I'm about to be incoming president, so why don't you just give me that immunity anyway? And it's like, nah, that's a vibes-based kind of thing. We're not doing that. Like, and the judge is like, no, I want to have this sentencing at least be what it is. So it looks like it's gonna stick, and once again, he can appeal it or whatever. But yeah, he's a fucking old thugger. What can we say? He's a criminal, and he's in office. Sometimes this is how it works. It's so American when you really think about it. My one of my coworkers the other day, he kind of came and every once in a while they like to like kind of swoop by and talk news with me or whatever. And he's like, yeah, how do you feel about that? And plus he's talking about trying to take over Greenland. He's trying to talk about Canada being the 51st state, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, yeah, man, he's crazy. It's wild to me that he wants to fight this so hard. He doesn't want to take the L here, but it doesn't matter. Like, everyone has more or less labeled Donald Trump a criminal, and they voted for him anyway. Like, it doesn't make a fucking difference. Like, he's just, like, worried about his legacy or, like, just how he's perceived. Who cares? How that, like, all of that led to him being where he's at. It just doesn't matter in my mind, right? Like, I don't fucking care. Like, I'm not going to like him any more or less whether or not he beats this or not. I'm always going to consider him a fucking criminal. Whether or not he got it for this or not. Like that's a me personal thing, but I think, once again, his detractors will always say that, right? So, like, what's the point of really, like, twirling about this in court? But needless to say, and I do love this thumbnail because, he had the option of either going in person or doing it via, remotely. There you go. And, chose to do it remotely. And I guess it's just him and his fucking, legal guy just like, on the screen. there. So there you go. Technology coming a long way. But yeah, I mean, we knew this is kind of going to happen, pretty business as usual, once again, unless the Supreme Court intervened. But I was kind of not surprised by that, because I do really think this is leading to, I guess, the next thing too. But obviously, the Supreme Court is supercharged, conservative, sucks, boo, we hate it. But I do think there's limits. And what I mean by that is I don't think they necessarily want to give Trump everything and anything he asked for. I think they want to do a lot of it within the framework of, the policies and the shit that they want to enact and keep pushing, right? Even though obviously we're talking about judges here, when the deck is stacked, you can kind of flow the river, right? I don't know. So yeah, that's related yet unrelated to this next thing. We're going to get into TikTok. Actually, I'm going to take a quick water break. I'm overreacting. All right. From NBC News. Supreme Court leads towards upholding law that could ban TikTok. The Supreme Court on Friday appeared likely to uphold a law that would effectively ban social media platform TikTok in the United States. The 9 justices on the conservative majority court heard oral arguments from lawyers from TikTok, some of its users, and the Biden administration, with at least a preliminary decision likely in days, if not hours. Also, randomly, before I forget, because I did forget to mention it during the Pizzagate thing, I was just kind of just started riffing and ranting. Ketanji Brown Jackson was actually the judge that convicted him in, I believe, 2017. So a little bit of a connection there throughout this episode, a little bit of a thread. But yeah, it looks likely that TikTok might be in the weeds for the ban in the U.S. Trump did try to parlay. It's probably the wrong word here. I think it's called like a Mensa brief or something to that. I can't remember the exact name if I'm wrong there. But essentially trying to say, hey, this is going to come into effect. The TikTok ban is going to come into effect before I get into office. Like, just wait a little bit on this. Like, kick the can, and I will do a negotiation. I think I can find a way, because he's flip-flopped on this. He initially said, yeah, I want to see it banned. And then he's like, nah, maybe I don't want to see it banned, which I said, we talked about this a little bit before. He changed his mind in between a meeting between one of the big investors in TikTok. They had a little sit down, and then out of that, he goes, maybe I changed my mind. And then he's even recently mentioned, hey, I actually think TikTok was a big reason in me getting reelected. So many young eyeballs who are young voters actually got to see me, and I think that was very useful. Yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. But essentially, it doesn't seem like the Supreme Court really cares about that, which is once again more to my point from the previous article. I do kind of think that, once again, it's within reason how much influence Trump has. And you even see that not just in the judicial branch, but also in the legislative, where it's like, hey, yes, I want Mike Johnson to be the guy. And yeah, we all kind of know that he's going to be the guy, but you still see people trying to at least rock the boat on the first roll call, whatever, try to get a little bit of squeeze, a little bit of motion, let people know that it's not going to be so simple all the time. So we will see how things go there, how much power and pressure Trump really has. I mean, I do think he obviously has a lot, but yeah, I mean, I did, I found this whole part to be interesting, because now TikTok's in a weird spot where it's like, I do kind of think that the ban's going to happen. Now, that doesn't, Thanos snap, TikTok away and it's gone. It just simply means that you won't be able to update the app anymore. So it will stay the version that it is come that day. What is it, the 19th of this month? So that'll suck. That'll be lame. Unless, TikTok sells, which I kind of don't think that they would. I mean, a lot of people come out, and this really is a bipartisan thing. It's not just like, ooh, blue-haired leftists want to have TikTok. No, it is all kinds of people, because TikTok is such a sticky app right now. And it's been for a while, where people come and they hang out and they just keep watching and watching and watching and watching. Like, it's a phenomenon that, it rivals YouTube, right? So, and I mean, I've attested this even personally. Like, I've seen growth in terms of eyeballs on my podcast just by TikTok opening it up to say, hey, you can post videos up to an hour now. That was a game changer for me. I know more people are at least getting a chance to see and listen to me, whatever, via that app alone. So that means something. That affects me, in a way that I go, oh, I went from being like, boo, I don't really like TikTok, that shit's whack, to being like, TikTok's okay, right? Like TikTok's all right. It's for the kids, it's for the youth. But I mean, there is this, it's a China app, and then they're taking all your data, and they're doing all this, blah 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 blah. I mean, we'll see though. Whatever. I really don't feel too strongly about it at the end of the day. I would personally like to see TikTok still stay a thing, not be banned in the US. But I mean, once again, you could still use the app. It would just kind of be like in a zombie-like state. So yeah, I mean, maybe there might be ways around that. But yeah, I'm not a social hacker in that regard where I can tell you all the tips and tricks to keep your TikTok going. But yeah, I mean, we will see how things unfold. It just looks like the Supreme Court is leaning towards letting the ban rock and roll. But anyway, let's move on to our last bit. It is an update just from the California wildfires, that situation. But yeah, let's go ahead and take our last break and we'll get into it. Oh yeah. From CNN. Canadian Super Scooper plane grounded after hitting civilian drone over Los Angeles wildfires. Los Angeles authorities have vowed to prosecute illegal drone flights after a civilian drone collided with a Canadian Super Scooper aircraft aircraft fighting the Palisades fire Thursday, forcing the specifically designed firefighting plane to be grounded. The specifically designed CL-415 firefighting planes are used to scoop up more than 1,500 gallons of ocean water, and drop them on active fires. The plane in question, Quebec 1, sustained wind damage and remains grounded and out of service. Los Angeles Fire Department spokesperson Eric Scott said, adding there were no reported injuries. I believe like there's some photos where I've seen where there's like a hole, like it looks like punched through it, and I guess that's somehow from making like contact with the drone. I don't know why the drone is flying through there. I imagine, like, if I was to speculate, it's probably just to be like, hey, I'm taking footage of like what it looks like. Either we're talking like aftermath or like where, excuse me, like what the fire looks like, as of like right now or whatever, which it's definitely worth noting. I have a little bit of a side here from like, I think Yahoo News. But I know 10 people have been killed, so the number's gone up from 5, and then 10,000 structures destroyed as the Palisades, Eaton, and other wildfires continue to burn in California. So, I mean, some of the smaller fires are, getting more contained, which is good, but the big fires are still raging pretty hard, and so that's still a thing. So yeah, it's very sad, it's very unfortunate, but in regards to the drones, it just kind of goes to show we're gonna have more drone talk in 2025. It's gonna be all over America because they're just gonna become more of a thing, I guess, right? And not to say that like this wasn't a practice before, but it's like once again you have a moment where it's like, hey, we're trying to do natural disaster relief work and shit, and this drone is fucking that up. So that's not good, So it's drone news of, I guess, of a different variety here. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but also unfortunate in the situation. But yeah, I mean, obviously the fact that these fires are still ongoing. I know there's been a lot of evacuations. Definitely sad to hear like some of the deaths. Like I heard one story of a family, like, the sister finds her brother and he had stayed trying to like he died with a hose in his hand, like trying to like save the house. Like, so that's sad. That sucks. So yeah, man, it's a pretty devastating situation. But yeah, just wanted to kind of add some more coverage there, talk about that a bit. We will go ahead and close it out for the day. Hopefully you are safe. Hopefully you are comfy, cozy, safe and warm, or nice and cool, whatever your situation, whatever you're looking for. But yeah, if you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Please subscribe to the YouTube. That's always helpful. Leave a like, leave a comment. Sharing is caring. Feel free to do that on the Spotify. Feel free to do that on whatever listening platform that you're rocking with right now. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.